Do 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 do. I overshot my mark there. I overshot it. I spent several years in college. I went to University of Kentucky. I went to photography school down in Florida. I wished I never spent any time in college. I mean, it's a complete total waste of money. They say you only get out of it what you put into it. That's not necessarily true. I mean, people actually should not go to college unless they want to become a doctor, a lawyer, or like an electrical engineer or an engineer in general. You know, things that are actually directly useful, and that doesn't mean I actually have a disdain for the arts. Obviously, I certainly as hell do not. My friend once said that college is a great place for producing highly educated idiots, and that's the case. The one thing that I was not taught, and thankfully I was able to escape that very, very early on, because I hung out in the library. I even shook my finger at the principal and I said, listen, I'm not going to hang out at lunch, and I'm going to hang out in the library for the last 3 classes that I do, and he let me do it, and that's exactly what I did. I mean, I grew up in books, but I mean, I don't believe books are the end-all be-all. I mean, I'm about direct application, but no one is taught how to think. I realized very early on that what none of us were taught in school is how to think. And it is far, far, far superior to learn how to think than it is to be well educated. Does that seem superficially um, bombastic to you? I mean, it's not. I think there's an ancient, I'm loath to quote ancient religious texts, but it's certainly applicable that you could feed a man a fish and feed him for a day, give a man a fish and feed him for a day, or you could teach him how to fish and feed him for a lifetime. Far, far more important than memorizing facts and figures is learning how to think. Therefore, you can actually directly synthesize no matter what life brings you. You and I have both suffered the exact same issue, and thankfully I always transcended above it because I would always argue with my teachers because I was far smarter than they were, is that this is all we heard for 15, 20 years in junior high, high school, and college, depending on how long you went to school, is to go home and memorize this shit, and tomorrow we're going to have a multiple guess test. Go home and read this stuff. That doesn't teach anybody anything. I've seen the de-evolution of human intellect like never before, and part of it is, of course, our gadgets. I mean, I drive down the road, it's like, it is a rare person that is not like texting while they're driving. I mean, these pathetic assholes are killing people left and right. That's not, of course, why they're stupid, but I mean, it is a dumbing down. Of course, we're turning people into sheep. I mean, they're permanently attached to their cell phone, which of course is always trackable. If someone said when your baby is born, we're going to stick a chip in its ass and it'll be addicted to it, it'll never take it out, and we could track your child for the rest of his... That's all a cell phone is anyway. It's a tracking device. It records everything you do, most of the things you think and feel and believe, and all your friends and all your connections and the places that you go. It keeps track of that. Recently, the codec inside of an Apple iPhone was discovered. Even when you turn it off, it still keeps track of every little step you make, you know, when you get out of a taxi. We're addicted to these stupid devices, but nobody knows how to think anymore. The dumbing down of the world is absolutely beyond belief. Back in the 12th through the 16th century, if you were really rich, you know, rich, your child got a classical education. They called it a classical education. What it meant was, however, is that you studied Aristotelian and Platonic logic. And that didn't mean you studied and memorized shit. You actually learned how to think. There's a specific synthesis and theurgy that stokes the mind to engage in things, and engage the dialectic is specifically what it should be called, and is called, but nobody talks like that anymore. Engage the dialectic of the root base of whatever thing life brings you, or people that are speaking fallacies, kind of like all those bullshit politicians all over the world just spewing lies and crap and nonsense. And every branch of the media is a pack of lying SOBs spewing BS and nonsense, and people are eating it up. I don't ever accuse, the scumbags that are spewing BS and nonsense. What do I accuse is the stupid people that fall for it. There could be some nut job on the end of the street, wearing some sort of crazy religious garb and, thumping some sort of BS religious book. And, that's fine. I'll sit there and sip my cafe latte and walk on. He's like, that's a crazy ass nut job. That's always been the case in the world. But people like that they actually attract people now, kind of like flies to honey. It's unbelievable how gullible and stupid and superficial people are. We actually have in this world, especially the United States, a group of highly educated dumbasses, the likes of which this earth has never seen before. It's absolutely stunning. Far, far more important than being rich, and of course if you're rich you can lead a comfortable life, is to be an elitist of the intelligentsia. And I don't mean the intelligentsia from the connotation and denotation of the Russians. The intelligentsia, or the bourgeoisie of the French, let them eat cake, sort of aloof, intellectual aristocracy. I'm actually talking about people that can synthesize and discern what the hell is up immediately. I'm always reminded of this movie called The Poseidon Adventure, where this giant cruise boat turns upside down in a tidal wave, and it's upside down, and they're at the bottom like 100 feet underneath the water, and there's millions of tons of water pressing in on the glass. And then the captain's like, it's okay, this boat's safe, we'll just stay here and wait for rescue. And all the stupid sheeple, you heard that word before, sheeple, like, yeah, that's the captain, he knows what he's talking about. And then there's some smart critters who are like, fuck that guy. Well, I know he's the captain, but fuck him, he's an idiot. Let's get the hell out of here before all the water breaks through the windows. And of course that's exactly what happens. They scurry the small handful of, and all the people down below, including the captain, like, don't move, where you going? We're safe here. Those are 4-inch thick Lexan walls. And it's just a perfect example of the type of humans that exist, not only all throughout history, but certainly so today. Everybody's a damn sheep. They're all repeating the same bullshit that they were taught to regurgitate. Go home and memorize this shit. We're going to have a test tomorrow. You go home and you read all this stuff furiously. You pop these pills, these caffeine pills to keep you awake, and you just memorize. That's what doctors also do, by the way. The second leading cause of death is doctors. They're killing people. He's a doctor. He's got a PhD. So what? The only thing that means, the fact that he's a doctor, is that he had the willpower and enough caffeine pills to remember and regurgitate enough bullshit to get his medical license. It doesn't mean he can't synthesize things and, because doctors are killing everybody by giving everybody, 10 pills. You got limp pecker pills and heart pills and blood pressure pills, and you end up killing people with pills. That's why this can't be bad. My doctor gave it to me. So what? Doctors are the second leading cause of death. Well, he's a doctor. You're not a doctor. This is the appeal to authority. Oh my God. Consensus. People that believe in people that, well, he's a doctor. What about all these politicians that have, some of them are graduated from Yale and Harvard. These are some of the dumbest idiots I've ever, I hate politics. I never discuss politics. It's like, this guy graduated from Yale. He is dumber than dog shit. I'm referring to one person in particular, but there's a lot of them like that. Colleges are producing these highly educated dumbasses that aren't smart enough to wipe their own ass. I'm self-taught on ancient Greek and Prakrit, and I love translating ancient languages. And the only thing that actually was of benefit to me was learning this Pythagorean, Platonic, and specifically Neoplatonic, which is a condensate of Pythagorean theurgy, or this apophatic methodology, and the retroductive thinking that was the basis of all Pythagorean and Platonic secrets for comprehension of the nature of not only physics and metaphysics, which are one thing, just opposite sides of the coin of the one coinage, i.e. the silver of comprehension. And I'm not one that praises empirical knowledge, i.e. episteme, over that of gnosis, true comprehension. People don't know how to think anymore. They just don't. I mean, you'll find some guy with a Harvard law degree, or a degree from Harvard. He's a doctor, he's a lawyer. I've met some of these people, within an extremely narrow spectrum of a highly specialized field. They know a lot of information, but they can't synthesize things. They're not inventive and creative. They're not spontaneously synthesizing creative and noetic thought, which is transcendent to mere linear thinking. They're all caught up in linear thinking. When you're taught to go home and memorize shit so you got a multiple guess test at the end of the weekend, all that does is it grows linear empirical thinking, which is not of benefit to humanity or people in general, both in whole or in part. There are endless situations that manifest on a daily basis that you would not be taught in high school or college or Harvard or Yale. People are so stupid now. They are completely robbed of the essential senses given to the dumbest of animals. Now, animals are dumb in general. The smartest animal is still dumb, but what the dumbest animal has that the most educated human being doesn't have is that it has intuition. It knows when to defend it. I mean, human beings, are so stupid today. Like if someone's coming at them with a knife and wearing a ski mask, they're clueless. They don't even have the common sense of the dumbest animal. This guy's got a Yale law degree. Highly educated, which means nothing whatsoever. But he doesn't have the common sense granted to the dumbest small rodent with the smallest walnut brain when it comes to intuition, insight, self-preservation. Common sense. Of course, common sense is a colloquialism that specifically refers to gnosis, or wisdom, or superficiality of wisdom. Not wisdom in the absolutist sense of Pythagorean, Platonic, or Neoplatonic, which is noetic and transcendental, i.e. subjective synthesis, but in this basic primer of intuitive comprehension, which is instantaneous. It does not require mental or conscious cogitation, where if someone sees something, they actually have to process it in their brain. There's some things that are instantaneous. They are like, our nature to breathe. Like when a child's born and he has no sense or wherewithal, he knows enough to cry and breathe and to eat or suckle. Human beings have been completely robbed of that. This linear sort of thinking, spending 15, 20 years in high school and college and junior high, God, and that's all you and I ever heard, was this non-productive methodology which produces ignorant sheep that are slaves to this modern world. They're slaves. You're slaves to your technology and your jobs. People working their asses off so they could save a few pennies to buy like an entertainment device, and sit there and turn their brain off and watch TV reruns. Ah, man. The world is de-evolving. People are becoming far, far, far less intelligent. And by intelligence, I mean loosely, of course, comprehension. It's absolutely mind-boggling, the stupidity that I see on a daily basis. Well, I went to college. And people talk about peer-reviewed. Would you have any of your thoughts peer-reviewed? What, you want me to get the approval of someone else that is stupider than I? Dumber than, my God. Peer-reviewed is an intellectual circle jerk of academic losers. I hate it when people say peer reviewed. Did you have your stuff peer reviewed? Oh, God. Academia is bullshit in the highest possible sense of the term. The only thing that's important is comprehension and wisdom and being able to instantaneously synthesize the nature of things and problem solve on the fly. And the only way you could do that is by learning how to think. You can never learn that through empirical, linear thought memorization and recitation. Just like a damn parrot. Go home and memorize this shit. It doesn't benefit either the person or humanity. When you end up doing that to everybody, then all of humanity intellectually de-evolves. There's a movie about this. That, by the way, everybody told me to see it. It's called, what is it called? The guy travels into the future and everybody in the future is a retard. What is it called? I can't think of the name of it. And the reason why there's no food in the future is that everybody in the future drinks something like Gatorade. And they figure since it's good for people, it's good for the plants. So they've been feeding plants Gatorade and all the plants were dead. But everybody's too brain dead and too intellectually, inept to realize that that's what's killing all the plants. What is the you know the name of the movie. That's exactly where humanity is going. For some reason, the name of that movie escapes me. It was made like in the early 1990s. Very, very prophetic. The guy himself, before he went into the time travel device, was one of the stupidest people on Earth. But he travels like 100 or so years into the future. But he emerges the smartest person on Earth because everybody de-evolved intellectually into a retard. Everybody should see that movie. Anyway, that's the end of my rant. Whew, nobody knows how to think anymore. Sure, I know how to think. I went to college. I got a degree. No, you got a degree saying that you were good at memorizing shit. That doesn't mean you know how to think. No. And education is useless. Yeah, get me a better job. I went to college so I could get a better job. Yeah, that's what college is gonna do. I went to college. I'm educated. Bullshit.